now the first thing that I try and figure out is how to get the case open, as it is just a little tricky for me to do it. But eventually I realize that I need to pull on a sliding hinge with enough force, and the case finally comes right out. So now, once it's open, the thing that I focus on next is the removal of some wiring. Now there was a hard drive cable that was left in the machine, but the hard drive was removed. So now I continue to fish some wiring out. And after receiving a small cut, I continue onward. So now this black covering is real tough to get out at the time, so now I go ahead and remove the various drives in the computer first. So by removing one screw, out pops the DVD drive right from the front. Now that that's out of the way, I can now focus a little more easily on that black box. And after some further inspection, I realize that it's only held in place with two screws, one on each side. So by removing each of those, the entire assembly comes straight out. So the next thing that I focus on is remove two more screws in order to separate our aluminum from the plastic. And now, the rather chunky piece of aluminum comes straight out. So I go ahead and take out some more wires, including a power supply connector, a small plastic door and hinges from the case, and pulling upwards will free up a modem card. Next, I focus on removing the power supply by taking out 4 bolts, one per corner. This is very standard for all computers to be put together this way, and it just happens to be the perfect weight distribution. But anyway, removing those screws and pressing on a small piece of metal inside the computer, the power supply comes straight out. So now I continue to take out some wiring. And now I focus on the motherboard. So I take out some screws, and the motherboard's still stuck, so I continue to take out some screws that hold a black piece of plastic that was attached to the CPU enclosure. And so with that removed, the motherboard finally comes right out. So the next thing I do is press on a small tab and remove the CPU. It's our second pinless CPU, and we will put the bracket back into place. I now remove a small heatsink that was next door. And now we are left with an empty case. The next thing that I do, by taking out some screws, we also remove our front panel assembly with the lights and buttons. And now I begin to take out the fan with its shroud, and this is particularly difficult for me. But eventually I just rip it straight out and I push out the fan, eventually resorting to the use of wire cutters to rip out the corner pins. Finally, with the fan removed, we are all done with the teardown. So, in this computer, we are left with the following: some screws, a power supply, some IDE and SATA cabling, a DVD drive, a dusty CPU fan, a front USB interface board, a small socket fiber CPU board, a modem card, some aluminum heatsinks, and a Pentium 4 CPU. So yeah, here are our results, and I hope you check out the next video where we take apart another modern computer with an Intel CPU. So I hope you look forward to that video, and until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.